Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. How y'all doing? My name is Eric. We are here live doing the Red Devil Daily. Manchester United latest update and news on players, transfer news, anything surrounding Manchester United. We have updates about the new stadium as well. We're going to get into all of that. But before we do, we just received news of the sad news of the passing of club legend Denis Law. So I would like to take a couple of seconds to just remember Denis Law for what he was. I wrote a little bit something to remember him by, to give him some parting words, I guess, as we can. And it's gonna go a little bit something like this. So today we mourn the loss of one of football's true legends, Denis Law, known as the King. He was not just a player, but an icon who defined an era for Manchester United. Denis joined the club in 1962, and over 11 unforgettable years, he became the heartbeat of United, scoring an incredible 237 goals in 404 appearances. His flair, passion, and ice-cold finishing earned him the Ballon d'Or in 1964, a testament to his brilliance on the pitch. He was a key figure in the golden 1960s alongside George Best and Bobby Charlton, forming a trio that brought the 1968 European Cup to Old Trafford, a moment etched in the club's history forever. But Denis was more than just stats. He embodied the spirit of Manchester United, resilient, fearless, and always striving for greatness. His love for the club and its fans never wavered, even when football tested his loyalty in ways only he could handle with grace. Today, we say goodbye to a giant, but his legacy will live on. Every time the Stretford end roars or young players dreams of wearing the famous red shirt, rest in peace, King. Your place in Manchester United's heart is eternal. And rest in peace to Denis Law, man. It's a huge loss for our club. It hurts. He was very important to Manchester United, to what Manchester United is, what Manchester United means. And we have to go through one of these again. He was, part of the trio. He has, he's in the statue outside of Old Trafford. And it's a very sad day. I wasn't expecting this. I was prepping the show 3-4 hours ago. Didn't think I would have to do sort of a goodbye eulogy for Denis Law today. That was not on my agenda. That wasn't on the cards, but yeah, it's very sad. But rest in peace. And I just I hope everybody remembers him in the best possible way, and remembers Denis Law for what he is to our club, but also to football. And yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely sad, and the club are doing their thing, commemorating him and stuff like that, as they should be. So, yeah, but we must move on with the transfer news, and the news surrounding Manchester United, and we're going to get into all that. If you guys can, please smash the like button for me. It massively helps the channel out. If you don't do it for me, if you don't do it for the channel, if you don't do it for the community, smash the like button for Denis Law, at least, and rest in peace for him. So yeah, very sad news. Richard said he scored the only goal of the game in my first ever match in 1966. We were away at Main Road. Denis Law, rest in peace. And yeah, and there's people like Richard that saw him live, got to see him play, got to see his brilliance, got to see him grace the pitch. I wasn't as lucky. There's some people that aren't as lucky to have been able to view that brilliance, and I'm sure it touches everybody in a different way. I only know of his stature, of what he did for the club and what he meant. Other people like Richard, got to see his brilliance unfold in real time with their eyes. So we're here yet again, losing another club legends, Sir Bobby. There's too many. There's too many to count, to be honest. But I mean, it's weird to transition to this type of stuff, but we're gonna do our best. So the news that came out is about Garnacho, it's about Rashford, it's about Manchester United and Old Trafford. The club put out a statement about Old Trafford and the redevelopment of Old Trafford, or going with a new stadium. I'm going to read that. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about what it means for Manchester United. Ray is in here as well. Lyle is in here as well. How you guys all doing? We just commemorated Denis Law because he just passed away, or we just received the news that he passed away. So yeah, sad stuff. But here is the update that came in the early hours of the day today from or about Garnacho. This is Samuel Luckhurst. There's other people here. There's other sources that have come up with updates, but the main gist of it is that apparently Napoli are unlikely to meet Manchester United's valuation of Alejandro Garnacho. They've had an offer of around 40 million rejected. So apparently Napoli have made a bid for Alejandro Garnacho. It's 40 million pounds. Manchester United have rejected this bid, and rightfully so. That's absolutely just a waste of time offer. It's a shit offer. They're literally wasting their time. They're wasting our time. And I don't understand where they're trying to go with this. Because in what world do they think they're going to get a player like Alejandro Garnacho for 40 million? I don't really know. The update to follow that update is that apparently Chelsea have made inquiries for Alejandro Garnacho, and that's coming from David Ornstein, the all-credible, almighty David Ornstein. He is pretty much the... is he English? British? Whatever. He's the British version of a Fabrizio. If David Ornstein speaks, you could pretty much take it to the bank. You could take it as, fully credible. It's probably the most reliable source that you can take a story from. So apparently Chelsea have made inquiries for Alejandro Garnacho. We're going to get into that as well. I got a little bit of an update about that. So give me a second. Let me pull that up where I need to pull it up. So Chelsea Football Club has shown significant interest in securing the services of Manchester United's promising winger Alejandro Garnacho during the transfer window. Reports from multiple sources confirm that Chelsea has initiated formal discussions, valuing Garnacho at over £60 million. Additionally, Chelsea are also looking at somebody that has also been linked to Manchester United from Borussia Dortmund. His name is Jamie Gittins. And while Manchester United are reluctant to let Garnacho go, they might consider offers that far exceed their valuation. And this potential transfer saga has ignited discussion across the fan base. Now, the updates to go around that, the latest and most up to date updates about Alejandro Garnacho. I will get them in a second when I pull them up. Let me get them. Usually I have these things ready to go, but I was playing around with something on the channel, so I wasn't able to grab them all. So there was quite a couple updates from earlier in the morning. I want to go in chronological order, so give me a second. Quite a number of updates today. Yeah, so Simon Stone also Simon Stone going with Samuel Luckhurst also reporting that Manchester United rejected Napoli's bid of around 40 million for Alejandro Garnacho, as it falls well below their valuation of the player. Following that update, few hours later, we got an update coming from another source confirming the Chelsea interest. And then there was an update following that saying that David Ornstein has come out saying conversations surrounding Chelsea's interest in Alejandro Garnacho are at an early stage. That was about 7 hours ago. Following that update, Sky Sports News reported that Chelsea are looking at a possible deal for Alejandro Garnacho. Manchester United do not want to sell, and it is thought it would take a huge offer for them to even consider it. Following that update, Alejandro Garnacho has reportedly said yes to joining Napoli. That's come from Sport Media Set, which I don't know about that source, but an Italian source also coming out saying Napoli have reached an agreement on personal terms with Alejandro Garnacho. And Matt Law, DT, says Napoli and Chelsea have attempted to get reassurances over Alejandro Garnacho's attitude as part of their homework on him. That was 2 hours ago. Matt Law also followed up by saying Manchester United are not currently in talks with clubs about the sale of Alejandro Garnacho and are not actively attempting to create a market for the player. He also followed that up by saying Manchester United are adamant Garnacho will not be allowed to leave Old Trafford in a cut price deal this month. That is the latest and most up-to-date updates on Alejandro Garnacho. My opinion on this and Alejandro Garnacho is, as you guys already know, I don't think we should be looking to sell him. I don't think we need to sell him. There's about a list of 7 to 8 other players that I would be looking to sell instead of Alejandro Garnacho. This has caused a great debate within the Manchester United community across the world. There is a large section of our fan base that boggles my mind in the disrespectful manner in which they speak about Alejandro Garnacho, which they say that he sucks, that he is trash, and that we should be selling him for 40 million, 50 million, whatever price we can get, because he is a bad player and he doesn't fit the system, and that he's never going to be good enough. I find it baffling that there are a large section of the Manchester United fan base speaking about Alejandro Garnacho in this manner. I don't understand it. He is a 20-year-old kid who has high potential. He can be taught to fit the system. He is still a moldable player, and I think he has a high potential. I don't understand why there's this large section of our fan base that have already given up on a 20-year-old. It is not the Manchester United way. It doesn't sit right with me to be selling a player of his caliber and his potential, of his age, and selling him off to Napoli for funds, when we have other players that don't deserve to be here, that have overstayed their welcome, that have had numerous amounts of chances, or are just simply plain not good enough to be at Manchester United. Now, the club have moved through the press today in basically saying that they are not looking to sell Garnacho. They are not interested in selling Garnacho. They are not trying to create a market for Alejandro Garnacho. So this seems, as of right now, the story seems to be coming because there is interest in Garnacho from Napoli's side. Napoli are pushing. Chelsea are getting involved because Chelsea have a ton of money and they know that we are struggling for money. So they want to see if they can get any budge, any movement out of us. Maybe an indication. But the club basically, through Matt Law and some of the media outlets today, essentially making a statement saying that we are not looking to sell Alejandro Garnacho, and especially not for a cut price and not in January, which I think is a good move from the club. They should not be looking to do so. I think what they need to do is focus on trying to get rid of Marcus Rashford, Casemiro, Anthony, and if they could do a deal for Lindelof, on some other players, etc., that's the lane that Manchester United should be moving, and trying to do deals. Now we have updates on Marcus Rashford as well. The latest updates on Marcus Rashford, which is this came in the early hours. As you can see, it's timestamped 11:20 a.m. my time, which is earlier for our UK people. That's at 6:20 in the morning over there in the UK. And Marcus Rashford is apparently moving away from AC Milan as they push ahead with the arrival of Kyle Walker. So what's transpired around Marcus Rashford, the gist of it, and I have an update on this as well, so we could read this and we can break it down a little bit more in our own words. So AC Milan have apparently shifted its transfer strategy. We're now focusing on acquiring Manchester City's defender Kyle Walker. The club has ramped up negotiations, recognizing Walker's value for his experience, leadership, and defensive versatility. This move comes after complications in negotiations for Manchester United's Marcus Rashford, primarily due to salary issues and competition. While there's speculation about Rashford possibly moving to Barcelona, no concrete deals have been confirmed with Borussia Dortmund. And Walker is eager to join AC Milan. So one of the things about the AC Milan deal is AC Milan can only sign one of a Marcus Rashford or a Kyle Walker. Marcus Rashford was obviously available for sale first. His deal is complicated due to his wages and some other stuff. He hasn't been in good form, so there's not really a hunger in terms of wanting to get him over somebody like Kyle Walker, who has been in teams that have won numerous Premier Leagues, a Champions League, etc. One is seen as a proven winner. One is seen as a person that is a player that is struggling and hasn't been a success in a certain aspect. Kyle Walker came about a few days ago. Pep Guardiola basically announcing to the world in a press conference that Kyle Walker came to him and asked that he wants to leave in the January transfer market. This alerted numerous clubs, including AC Milan, and AC Milan have decided that they want to go and get Kyle Walker instead of Rashford. So Marcus Rashford to AC Milan is dead at this moment in time. Now, Rashford has been linked with other teams, including Barcelona and Borussia Dortmund, and maybe one or two other clubs. And the updates that we have around that, if any, besides what we've already talked about, is literally that. AC Milan have given up on a deal to sign Marcus Rashford to pursue a deal for Kyle Walker. Now, the thing is about Marcus Rashford is that we need to sell him. We need to sell him because there's no coming back for him, in my opinion. I've seen some other non-face insider accounts on social media supposedly saying Marcus Rashford has played his last match for Manchester United. He's not going to play another match. He is probably our biggest problem and issue in terms of trying to move on a player. He's on very high wages, and the club needs to figure out where we're going to move him on and how we're going to move him on. And the faster we do it, the better, because I think it's taken up a lot of resources. It's blocking a lot of it's blocking us from moving forward. If we move Marcus Rashford on, we can bring somebody in to replace him. As long as Marcus Rashford is still a Manchester United player, we are not going to bring in somebody to the club to help Ruben Amorim and to go into his system. So we need to figure out what we're going to do with Marcus Rashford in terms of where we're going to send him, and we need to get a deal done ASAP. It is January 17th, and we only have a couple weeks left of the January transfer window. The faster and sooner we can get this deal done, the better for all parties. We've lost an opportunity to move him to AC Milan. That deal is now dead. Barcelona have financial issues, so I don't know if that deal can come about. And Borussia Dortmund don't seem that serious in getting Marcus Rashford. And we don't know if Marcus Rashford wants to go to Borussia Dortmund. He certainly wants to go to Barcelona, but there are issues in that deal itself. Lyle saying, fantastic tribute, Eric. A very sad and huge loss. We have comfort knowing that the United Trinity is reunited. And that was about Denis Law. If you guys missed it, I gave a little bit of a eulogy for Denis Law. So thank you for that, Lyle. Appreciate it. X saying that they just wish to cash big for at least one of two of them. Richard says sell Diego Dalot. Grace isn't here. She'll appear if you start talking about Diego Dalot. She'll pop up. Lion says Garnacho has been below bar this year. While I wouldn't necessarily sell him, if United could get a good price, I do believe they should think about it. Well, that seems to be one of the kind of discrepancies in the stories. United coming out today kind of basically saying through the media that they're not looking to sell Garnacho. They're not pushing this. This is being pushed by maybe Garnacho's agent and, Napoli. Napoli are definitely heavily interested. Napoli definitely want Alejandro Garnacho, for sure. That is not, fake news. That is 100% the story. That Napoli, they want Garnacho. They're interested in Garnacho. They're trying to make Manchester United budge to do a deal for Garnacho. The club is not necessarily moving. They're reluctant to do so. They don't think it's necessarily the best thing. But there's always that little thing that sits in the background nagging that if Napoli were to offer 80 million for Alejandro Garnacho, the club is going to seriously sit down and consider it, but they are demanding a high fee. They are saying, to make us even think about it, you have to give us something that we are going to consider as a big offer. Listen, if that offer is to come in, a big offer, I think the club should only do its due diligence and contemplate it. It still bothers me because I don't know. I like him. I disagree with selling a prospect of that age at that level that we have at 20 years old. It feels very it feels very un-Manchester United to me. I think since growing up, from the time growing up watching the club, I don't think we've necessarily done this in the fact that we have a player at this age. Now, we've moved on very big names. Even in Fergie's time, he's come in, the amount of big names that he's moved on and kind of kicked out of Manchester United, and went forward and past that, are there, and those things happen. Beckham, Keane, Ruud van Nistelrooy, etc. But I don't think I've ever experienced where we have a kid that's about 19, 20 years old that he's having a tough time this season. He is. I don't think anybody is saying that he's not. But at the end of the day, he's 20. He's a young kid. I just feel like if we sell him to Napoli, we give up on his development. We're quitting on him as a club. We had that picture last season of Rasmus, Garnacho, and Diallo. That was the Trinity. That was the three that people were saying build the club around, and Mano, of course. So the four, build the club around them. And now we fast forward to about a year in, and we're discussing if we should sell one of those four. because of the financial situation that we find ourselves in. I don't I still believe that the club can. I mean, we added up all the wages last time of the players like Rashford, Casemiro, Victor Lindelof, Eriksson. These players that are done at Manchester United. And it came out to about 80 million off the books in just 1 year. So there is money for Manchester United to sort of recoup or clear off of their books there without getting rid of a player like a Garnacho or a Menu or a Rasmus or or Diallo. Obviously Diallo is way off limits because we just gave him a new contract, and thankfully, and rightfully so. I mean, he scored a hat-trick yesterday, and it was very good. But yeah, I don't. It doesn't feel right to me about it. But Axe says Rashford should be respected some more and be allowed to transfer on his own terms. He doesn't deserve a pay cut. It can be argued that he doesn't deserve his high wage, but even so. Lion says, I love Rashford, but he's costing United too much money. Well, he's costing United too much money because he's not performing on the pitch. And, well, he wasn't performing on the pitch. He's not getting on the pitch, and he's not involved in the squad in any type of way going forward. And I don't think there's any disrespect in saying that Marcus Rashford should be sold. I don't think there's any disrespect in saying that we need to move Marcus Rashford on. I don't think there's any disrespect in saying that he hasn't been good enough for us, especially in the past 2 seasons. And I think it's in best of all interests and all parties if Marcus Rashford moves on for Manchester United and for his career himself. But the club has to work with Marcus Rashford in a professional manner to help facilitate a move to wherever he wants to go. And he's certainly going to have to take a pay cut because no one's going to pay him that wage. No one's going to pay him that wage. There's great big arguments that he shouldn't even have gotten that wage in the first place. And I certainly agree because I don't think players should be getting that type of wage anyway. It's destroyed the wage structure at Manchester United. It's caused problems internally within our players. It's probably messed up some of the standards, but at the end of the day, that ain't even Marcus Rashford's fault. That is the club's fault. The club, under Richard Arnold and the Glazers and co., they're the ones that made this mess. They made this mistake of giving him that wage. Because they're not smart, and they were very bad at their job. So we kind of have to eat our own mistakes as well. But we have to try and rectify them in the best possible manner. So, Axe says, I'm telling you, we have been downgrading. We see players as transferable assets, not as humans who deserve encouragement, support, and emotional nurturing. We have been malformed by capitalism. Well, let's not get into a whole political thing, but, yeah, I mean, we've talked many times on this channel about having a real rebuild. You try and say that 3 times fast, real rebuild, you'll get twisted up. I get twisted up every time. But a real rebuild for me does not involve selling a player like Alejandro Garnacho. And then what do you do with that money? Unless we get a fee of 80 million, because I think then you can probably get 2 players. But the problem with that is that Alejandro is only 20. He's not a player that's 27 or 28 or 29 or 30. If an offer for Bruno Fernandes came in, Bruno Fernandes is 30 years of age. If a Saudi team came and offered 80 million for Bruno Fernandes, I say take that immediately, because he's 30. There ain't much left to his career at Manchester United. We're looking to do an actual rebuild and rebuild the squad. We can take that 80 million from a player like Bruno Fernandes and reinvest it into the squad. and you would want to get a player that's young, that has some potential and a talent like an Alejandro Garnacho to add it to the squad. If we remove a player like Alejandro Garnacho, I mean, what are we doing? Because we're gonna have to go out and find somebody else to replace him. But why are we replacing a player like Alejandro Garnacho, who is one that is considered for the future? That to me, in the sense of a rebuild, doesn't really make sense. And that's why I'm reluctant to do it. I don't think that we should. It doesn't feel right in terms of the project that I was envisioning that we are supposed to be doing. So, Axe says Rashford carried us on his back so many times we must show him respect instead of forcing him out the back door. But we're not necessarily forcing him out the back door. Rashford has quit on us. Now you can say it's Ruben Amorim's fault, but at some point Marcus Rashford has to assume some type of responsibility for the situation as well. I'm not having this that Marcus Rashford is no longer going to be a Manchester United player solely because of Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim made a decision to drop him and Alejandro Garnacho out of the squad. Now, Garnacho, his transfer story is going in a different direction for different reasons. There is interest from Napoli, and Manchester United have stated that Manchester United players, nobody is safe, and they will listen to offers of anybody that comes in, and they will consider them. Doesn't mean that they're going to sell them, but they will. They are open to listening to any offer that somebody puts out. But the way the two things split was they both got dropped the same match. Garnacho made no statement and made no nothing of him wanting to quit Manchester United. And he's come back into the squad and he's getting opportunities. Marcus Rashford then went and did an interview essentially stating that he wants to leave Manchester United and that he no longer wants to continue. If I'm Ruben Amorim, I have one player I can work with that I dropped. He was obviously unhappy, but he's still here working and he's working hard and I'm giving him opportunities and he's not necessarily taking them per se, but he's there and maybe he will take them and maybe, his outlook will change. I have another player in Marcus Rashford that has come out, done an interview essentially saying that he wants to leave Manchester United, that he no longer wants to essentially fight for his place, and that he's essentially quitting, and that he would like a new change in his career. I can work with one player. I can't work with the other player. There's nothing for me to do with Marcus Rashford if he has made up his mind and he wants to leave. I mean, I'm sure they've sat down, I'm sure they talked, and I'm sure Marcus Rashford has reiterated that he would like to leave Manchester United. Therefore, there's nothing for Ruben Amorim to do. There's nothing for the club to do other than to work with Marcus Rashford and his camp and his agent, which is his brother, and facilitate a transfer out of Manchester United. Whether you think Rashford carried us or he's been not good enough and he's a waste of money and whatever it is, he clearly, obviously, part of him does not want to be here any longer. And he does not, doesn't want to be at Manchester United. What do you do with a player like that? There's only one option, and that is to move him on. So, you got to go. He's got to go. Grace is here. See, Grace appeared. See, I told you if you mentioned Diego Dalot, this is what happens. What happens? Lyle says Garner, Hoyland, and Mainu with the infamous pick. Yeah, sorry. I got them confused. But you could throw in Diallo in there as well, obviously, now. Richard says Eriksson and Casemiro, etc. will go naturally in the summer. They will. But to me, those are just, they're higher on the list in the priorities. There's no doubt in my mind about it. Again, Grace gave us that list last time. I didn't disagree with one player, except for maybe Maguire, and I have my reasons for that. And I said, if we can do a deal with Maguire where we lower his wage, and maybe we give him a 2-year deal, and he's willing to accept that, then that's fine. If he doesn't want to, then he can go as well. But he's been good in the squad. He plays well. And I don't have a problem with him staying on to fill a squad role. because we have many areas that we need to reinforce. And if we have a player like Maguire that has experience, that has been through it all at Manchester United, he's had the lowest of lows, he's had some highs, he's had a resurgence, he's had a comeback story, he's had the captaincy, he's had it stripped off of him. He's still there, he fights for the badge, and he puts in good performances now. So I'm okay with him staying. But there's all those other players that, Anthony missed an absolute sitter. He's got to go. We're struggling to move him on because of his wage. There's not a lot of interest in him. Real Betis are still interested, but that whole thing about Anthony is that they want us to pay a large sum of his wage, over 75% of his wage, to go on loan to Real Betis. I don't know what we're going to do there. I think Manchester United are waiting and hoping for some sort of maybe some more interest. Maybe there's a club or two that are desperate to get somebody in before the window closes that may provide some sort of competition for Anthony where we could get the best possible type of deal. As of right now, it just seems to be Real Betis, and they have more pull and more power than us in this deal, because we are obviously the club in the situation that are the more desperate ones to try and get something out of it to move him on. Grace says, I love Rashford. He needs to be starting. Give him a bigger contract to motivate him. And that is sarcasm from Grace. If you don't know Grace, that is 100%. That is 100% sarcasm. Grace says, who the F said Sell Delow? What is wrong with you? That would be your father, said Sell Delow. Axe says the club should work on bringing Rashford back to his form. I think they've tried. Our focus used to be on the players, on the people. Now we focus on money, destroying human relationships in the process. I mean, I kind of see where you're going with that, but the problem is with that, Axe, is that we need money to run this football club. And the Glazers have substantially destroyed that aspect of Manchester United. They've put us in a very bad financial situation. And obviously there's the argument as to Ineos have gotten in bed with them, and they are a partnership, and they have helped them continue to run this, and that the club is searching for money to continue this farce of an operation. I'm not even going to try and challenge that. There's many details into that. That's a whole show in itself. But just as a basic overlook, we do need money. I think Manchester United have tried to work with Marcus Rashford. But I think, again, like I've said many times prior to this whole development of Marcus Rashford, I think it's hit a path where it is just no longer plausible for the club or for Marcus Rashford to continue down the path that they were on. I think it has gone extremely sour, and I think for both parties we need to move on. I liken it to a relationship, between two people, and they've been with each other for quite some time, and they've had ups and downs, they've had fights, they've had good times. And it's just gotten to the point where it seems like both parties no longer really want to put in this energy to try and fix something that they both know is broken and isn't going to lead to anything really prosperous. And both parties are sort of looking for a new path, a new direction. So I don't think there is anything there to work with Marcus Rashford. I think that ship has sailed. I think that is far gone. And I don't think there's any way back for him. Now, the only thing that is of concern is that the interest in him is not as great as we would like it to be. And there is a possibility that the window closes and Marcus Rashford is still here. What happens after that point, I don't know. Because according to Ruben Amorim, Marcus Rashford is not doing the things that Marcus Rashford needs to be doing in training for him to get a spot even on the bench. I don't know how, we don't know how true that is. We don't know how accurate that is, but that is his side of the story. Marcus Rashford obviously hasn't commented about that. maybe Marcus Rashford is just going through the motions in training because he wants to go and he doesn't really care at the moment. Now, if he gets stuck here, he may have to turn up his performances in training to get back onto the pitch, to get back into relevancy on the pitch in football, and then be able to facilitate a move in the summer. I don't want that to happen. I think that's a bad situation for him, and it's a bad situation for the club, and it's a bad situation for Ruben Amorim. But I think certainly it definitely is a realistic possibility. But this is why I'm saying that the club need to be doing all they can to facilitate a move for Marcus Rashford. I think that has to be number one priority. I don't think they should be pissing about looking at the likes of Alejandro Garnacho or a Meno. They should be focusing maximum effort on what to do with Marcus Rashford and how you're going to move him on and what kind of deal you're going to do that's going to benefit him and the club. He should be number one priority because right now, as it stands, we have a player on $325,000 a week that is not even involved in the matchday squads, and we are paying that wage. And as each match goes on, he is falling into more irrelevancy in a football terms because he's not even playing. He's not getting a substitute appearance. He's not getting anything. So there's no interest being sparked by in any way because he's not even involved in playing. So we need to figure out what we're gonna do with this. Axe said, would you have sold Bobby Charlton because of his age at the end of his career? Would you cash him out? I don't know. That's a hypothetical. But Bobby Charlton is a whole different type of talk. I mean, Bobby Charlton is a United legend forever and ever. There's many players. There's pretty much any player at this club right now. Nobody is a legend. Marcus Rashford isn't a legend. Garnacho's not a legend. Diallo's not a legend. There's no player at our club right now that is going to be considered a legend. And there's nobody. You can't even put them in the same conversation as a Bobby Charlton, a Denis Law, et cetera, et cetera. They're not even close. They don't even lace their boots in terms of that. So that to me is like apples and oranges. Axe says Rashford is better than Salah. Did he say that? Oh no, Grace said that. Sorry. Grace said Rashford is better. I knew that was a Grace comment. I was like, Axe didn't say that. There's no way. Grace said Rashford is better than Salah. That's another Graysonism. Ray says, we are Manchester United. We don't sell youth. We're not Brighton or Southampton. And I think that's kind of the point that I was trying to make earlier. Like, it just feels very on Manchester United to sell these kinds of players at this age. Again, a player like Rashford, 27. Yeah, he's from the youth academy, but he's 27. He's had his fair share of opportunities. He's been in the first team for quite a number of times. We know what he is. He's not going to develop into the sort of player that we need. I think this whole talk about Alejandro Garnacho not fitting the system of Ruben Amorim, while I think that there are plausible arguments for it, and it does make sense, I also think that the flip side of that is that he is young and that we can still mold him. Even Ruben Amorim spoke about Alejandro Garnacho in that manner and said that he can learn to play a different way. He has to learn to play a different way. He has to learn how to play better inside than outside. But Ruben Amorim certainly believes that he can do it. He's still working with Garnacho. He hasn't given up on Garnacho. He hasn't exiled Garnacho from the team. He gives Garnacho opportunities, so he believes that Garnacho can transform and fit into his system. So I don't understand why there's a large section of our fan base that are talking about Alejandro Garnacho as if he is a 28-year-old player and that he's never going to fit the system and therefore we need to sell him. That argument doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I think they're wrong for it. And I think they need to calm down and look at the situation as a whole. Axe says Rashford hasn't given up on United. It's his boyhood club. He is unmotivated, and people at the club should help him get over this bad phase. I think we've tried for 2 seasons, though. I think they've tried. I mean, I don't know what else people at the club are supposed to do about Marcus Rashford. I mean, you had Erik ten Hag, who was the manager at Manchester United, and, you know, people can make the argument that Marcus Rashford played a huge hand in getting Erik ten Hag sacked. Erik ten Hag played Marcus Rashford every single game. Marcus Rashford was playing very, very bad under Erik ten Hag, except for his first season where he was absolutely fantastic. But after that, he was very, very bad. And he kept playing him and kept giving him chances. And Erik ten Hag was not reaping any rewards from that. You know, I don't know what else at Manchester United you're supposed to do. Plus, again, I'm not accepting Axe that he came out and he said that he wants a new challenge. That to me, in his words, is essentially saying that I give up here. You know, when you come out and say you want a new challenge and that you're going to leave Manchester United, you are essentially, in my eyes, in his words, the way I am reading what he's saying is that he is quitting the club. Therefore, there's not much to work with there. Now, what might have to happen is if we can't facilitate a move for him, we will have to work with him in a professional manner and in the best manner. You know, but he has to do his things and do the proper things in training. But both parties will have to come to some sort of an agreement. And I don't think Marcus Rashford is disrespecting the club in any way. I don't think he's disrespected the club in any way. I don't think he's doing things that has brung shame on Manchester United. And I don't think necessarily Manchester United are doing anything that has brung shame on Marcus Rashford. There's clearly a discrepancy in his levels. I don't know what he's doing in training. We don't know what he's doing in training. We don't get privy to that. I find Ruben Amorim to be a fair man. So when he is basically saying that Marcus Rashford isn't getting into the squad because his levels aren't high enough, then I am believing him in this moment because I have no other reason not to believe him. He hasn't lied previously. He's new. And I'm going to entrust the manager over a player. So for me, we just got to do what we got to do. Richard says Rashford is not worth 350K. There's not many players that are worth 350K. I mean, just for context, you know, what does Mohamed Salah get paid? You know, if anything, Mohamed Salah performs like a 350K player, and Mohamed Salah ain't gonna get 350K. You know, but again, that's Manchester United's fault. That's the club's fault. You know, it's not Marcus Rashford's fault. Marcus Rashford was given that contract, and he accepted it. If I was given that contract, and I was the player, I would be like, in my head, I'm like, well, they're fucking idiots, or this is crazy that they offered me 350K, but you best believe that I'm going to sign my name on the line because they're offering me that contract. That's the club's fault. The club should have never gave him that, but we had very bad and incompetent people in charge of the club that gave very bad wage deals and did very bad transfer deals, and have destroyed this club financially because of it. And that's where we find our situation. Our current situation, and we have to figure out how we're going to fix it. How do you fix it? Because it's going to be painful and it's going to be a process. We're not going to flip 10 years of shitty deals and burning money in 1 to 2 seasons. And maybe that's why some people are arguing, well, we need to sell the likes of a Garnacho or something like that. But I would start with the deadwood and the players that don't deserve to be here and don't want to be here, or players that are past it, and players that are on very high wages. I would go after them first and then look at, you know, what else we got going on. Lion says, just like he loved the Becks, Kanchelskis, Hughes, Ince, Cole, York, and the list goes on and on. Things end sometimes. Well, yeah, it does. Richard says, Here are a few wise words my father gave to me. Keep your mouth shut. Everyone will think you're an idiot, but open your mouth and everyone will know it. Well, your father sounds like a very smart man. And if that was a philosopher, they would be quoting that quote for time on time. Richard says he likes Rashford. He buys drinks. Axe says those baboons in the management of the club can't motivate a hungry giraffe to eat leaves. But I mean, Axe, me and you have a disagreement on this. I don't, I listen, to a certain degree, you need this staff to motivate players. But at the same time, if we have players that can't motivate themselves to a certain level, then those players are useless. And you know, our people in the staff cannot be trying to motivate players from absolutely zero. You are a professional footballer. You should be motivated. If I was a player right now, you know, can I get some extra motivation from Ruben Amorim or somebody in the staff? Sure, but you best believe that, you know, especially if I believe in Ruben Amorim and if I believe in the club, I will be motivated on my own. I'm gonna show up to training, and I think, you know, I think an example of that is Amad Diallo. Amad Diallo seems like he is a very highly motivated individual. Is he getting extra motivation from Ruben Amorim? Yes. And the coaching staff? Yes. And he is performing the best out of every player that we have. Why do we have other players that need to be babied to be motivated? You know, if that is your mentality and your attitude, you are not fit to be at this club. You are not fit to don this shirt. And that is why we are getting bad performances from players on a reoccurring basis, because they don't have the correct mentality and attitude. The weight of the shirt is too heavy for them to carry. And we need more people that have a stronger mentality and a better attitude, that come motivated as a part of who they are as a human being and as a footballer. And then we can work with that. There is something to work with. But when you are not a motivated individual, when it doesn't come from your personality, when it doesn't come from you as a footballer, then there's not much to work with. And that's why I'm not trying to character assassinate somebody like Marcus Rashford, but I think that he is disillusioned with the club and the direction it's going, and he's upset at where his career is. He's not in the England squad. He doesn't look like he's getting back into the England squad. He's been struggling at Manchester United, and I think he is not motivated to continue at Manchester United. I think he is motivated to get his career back on track, and his motivation is to go somewhere else and reignite his career. Terrence says United will be obliged to bring back Rashford to the team because no one wants to buy him. Well, there is some deals that we can still do, especially we could do a deal like we did with the Sancho deal and move him on in a loan, maybe with an obligation to buy or some sort. But it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy, but Manchester United still have some time to do so. But there is the big possibility, as you said, that they might have to bring him back into the team. Now, there is the discrepancy also, though, that, you know, if Marcus, again, it has to come from Marcus Rashford as well. He can't just be going through the motions in training and expect to get back into the team, because we need to get him back into the team. I would hope that the club doesn't force that on Ruben Amorim. And if they don't force it on Ruben Amorim, I know for a fact that Ruben Amorim is not going to put him back into the team if he's just going through the motions. If he's, you know, giving his all and performing well in training, then he will get back into the team, and then he can, you know, focus on trying to perform on the pitch. help us out for the rest of the season while simultaneously helping himself out in getting a transfer move for the summer. I could see a situation where he doesn't get sold, but he doesn't up his performances in training and therefore doesn't get back into the squad and doesn't play for the rest of the season. It's going to hurt his transfer value. It's going to hurt his transfer interest for sure. But at the same time, from a team aspect, from Ruben Amorim's aspect, he has certain demands and he has a certain level of what he's demanding from the players. And why should Marcus Rashford get back in there just because we need to drum up some interest in him? It kind of flies in the face of the manager. So there's all sorts of issues around this, and that's why I'm saying the best and possible thing that we could do is Manchester United must be focusing all sources to try and move him on in January. I don't think it'll be good for him or the club if he's still here February 1st. I don't think it's going to be good. Richard has given a super chat. Thank you, Richard. No comment in the super chat, but thank you. I lost a large part of the chat, so if I skipped some stuff, I apologize. Axe says, I saw an interview with Sir Alex Ferguson. He said he wasn't sleeping at night thinking how to motivate players. He was thinking how to support the players. I guess Ratcliffe doesn't sleep at night thinking how to. Well, Ratcliffe is the owner, and I don't think Ratcliffe is having interactions with players. That would be the coaching staff, and I'm sure Ruben Amorim is doing things to motivate players. I think again, you see the disparity in the squad itself. Why? All I want to say is, why is Amad Diallo one of the few that are motivated? Why is he motivated? Why is he different than other players at the club? Why? He has a different path. His career is different to Manchester United, to Marcus Rashford. So there is a difference in their mentality and their attitude and their current feelings at the club. One is highly motivated. One seems broken. I don't think there's anything to work with at Marcus Rashford. I just don't. I think it's over. Ray says that's why Eric Ten Hag got fired, because of Rashford. Well, I think it's one of the reasons. And Rashford, you could probably put that on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. And even, a little bit of Mourinho as well. He's not the sole reason, but he was a reason. Yes, he was part of that, because we had managers that entrusted these players, and they kept trying to get the best out of these players, and they kept trying to work with these players, and these players let them down time and time and time again, which led to bad performances on the pitch, which led to bad results on the pitch, which led to them getting the sack. Ruben Amorim has come in and identified Marcus Rashford as somebody that was below a standard that he expected. And he dealt with it in his way, and it transpired into the situation we have now. So, Axe says no people aren't supporting Rashford. That is, he will never give up on. He is being forced out and had to make that statement for PR so the clubs get interested in transferring. I don't think he did. I don't think he did. They were both put in the same. Him and Garnacho were both put in the same predicament. One made a PR release, the other one didn't. So, as far as I know, Rashford changed the course of what was going to happen. I think if Rashford didn't do that and buckled down, like Garnacho, kept his mouth closed, and went into training the next day and worked even harder, I think Marcus Rashford would be involved in the squad. I think Marcus Rashford, maybe he wouldn't be starting, but Marcus Rashford would certainly be on the bench. But your actions have consequences, and I think Marcus Rashford is dealing with the consequences of his actions because he had a part to play in it. So, Richard says, I have watched players a lot better than Rashford being forced out of the club, and most of them had a lot more to offer than Marcus. Axe says he will support Rashford until the end of this world, and that's fine, but, I like Marcus Rashford. I hope he does good wherever he goes. I hope he reignites his career, but I just don't see it happening at Manchester United. And I think, again, for both Marcus Rashford and Manchester United, I think it's best to part ways. I think this relationship is dead. I think it's a waste of time for either one of us to try and amend it in any way possible. I think it's come to its end, and I think we both need to move on. So, X says, why don't we sell those Ineos management guys? How did they get paid on a week? Well, they're in charge of the football club. So, you know, I don't know how you're going to sell them. And plus, we have players to sell. We have plenty of players to sell. So, Rashford is stuck in his own head, sadly. Love the guy, United born, but too much has happened to him off the pitch, and he is suffering on it. He needs a new challenge, and United can't provide it. And I kind of agree with that, in that the fact that, you know, a lot has happened to him, not even off the pitch, but on the pitch. I mean, how many teams has Marcus Rashford been involved in that are loser teams, that are teams that haven't won things, that haven't accomplished things? You know, he's been affected by all of that. So not all of it is his fault, but he must 100% accept responsibility in part of this, and the other part has been the failings of the club. But this is why I'm saying I think it's just come to a point in the road where we must change the course of action between us and him. And he needs to go, and he knows that now, which is why he wants to leave, and has said that he wants to leave. And we have accepted that we need to move him on. So, yes. I hate the chat keeps jumping. I don't know why it keeps jumping, but Axe says, yes, you're right, but people are different, and good management should be able to motivate most of the employees. Does our management reach the Man United level? What kind of leaders are they? Well, we're not 100% sure, because it's a mess. It's been a mess, and part of the problem with that, I would say, Axe, is that it's been a mess for 10 years. So, whoever you get in, they're not going to be able to fix it, and you're not going to see the changes of what we need over the course of a year or 2 years. It's going to take some time. You know, how many times pre-Ineos have we complained about the ethos of the club, the culture of the club? How many times have Gary Neville and co and etc. and numerous amounts of fans have said that the club need a cultural reset? They need this reset. The dressing room is toxic, this and that. To fix those problems that have been there for numerous amounts of years is going to take a numerous amounts of years. I think Ineos are trying to do it. I don't know if they're going to be successful in doing it, but it's going to take some time. We're not going to know, you know, what kind of, you know, as you mentioned, what kind of leaders are they, until the time passes by and, you know, certain decisions are taken and made. So it's a work in progress, and we're doing it as we go. You know, and we have to see what comes out of this. But Richard says, I think in all seriousness that if Marcus moves to another country, it will separate him from some of the people he should not be around. I think then his attention would turn back to football. Well, yes, I think the whole brand thing has swallowed him up a little bit. And also, I think the media doesn't help. You know, there's a lot of Marcus Rashford gets put in the media a lot more than anybody. Sometimes it's his own doing. Sometimes it's not his own doing. I think if he was to go to a different country, the press is much different in the different countries than it is in the UK. It's less vulture-ish. There's still a vulture culture in the media, but it's not like the UK media. The UK media is like one of the worst medias out there, especially attacking their own people and their own players. And I think if you go to another club, I think that will sort of die down a little bit. And maybe you get a little bit less headaches off of the pitch, which will allow you to focus a little bit more on football. Lion says Herrera was actually a loss for us. Um, he was. I mean, the way Herrera was let go was a disgrace, and that shouldn't have been a thing. Even the handling of David De Gea wasn't the correct way either. So hopefully with this Marcus Rashford thing, they do it the best they can. But I have a high suspicion that he is going through the motions, um, and that's why he's not even being involved in the squad. I think if if there was something to work with there, I think Ruben Amorim would be using him because technically we're down a player. We're down a player. Marcus Rashford is out. He was considered an important player, and he has first team football experience. We've essentially just removed him, and no one has come in to sort of replace him. We could certainly use him in the squad or somebody, a body in the squad that we don't have. So, Richard saying being at United should be your motivation. It certainly should. But I think a problem with Marcus is that he's been drowned in the negativity that has surrounded Manchester United. So part of it, of course, is his responsibility because he is a player. And a lot of it has to go on him. But again, the club has been in a very bad position. Marcus Rashford has come through the club and developed his career through that time in Manchester United's very bad and shitty situation, which I don't think has helped him either because it hasn't been a good environment to necessarily grow and develop. The problem is he is now 27 and I don't see it coming to fruition, especially when we are in a part where we are looking to rebuild the squad and the club as a whole. So Ray has sent a super chat saying this is in memory of Denis Law, one of the best and the legend of the club. Thank you, Ray, for that. We appreciate it. And yes, rest in peace to Denis Law once again. One of the best, absolute club legend. Will never be forgotten. Can never be forgotten, and rightfully so. And hopefully, we bring some respect back to his name and the other ones like Sir Bobby Charlton and etc. And when I say respect, I mean with the club, so that the club stops being a laughing stock and goes back to being what they embodied at Manchester United. So Richard says, I can tell you, Eric, from the Belfast incident, there are people in his group that are more interested in themselves than his interests. Well, I think I mean, I don't know if you could say you could kind of see it, but you could tell that there's two parts to Marcus Rashford. There's a footballer and there's a brand. I certainly think that there's people around him, and maybe that's part of the club's fault because, again, like Axe has brought up, when there was a Sir Alex Ferguson, at that time, there's no way that he would have allowed these bad actors that have been talked about being around Marcus Rashford. There's no way he would have allowed that dynamic to continue. He would have made something happen, and something would have had to budge. He certainly, in my mind, I would like to think he would call Marcus Rashford into his office. He would sit Marcus Rashford down, and Marcus Rashford wouldn't be allowed to leave that office until that situation was sorted out. Now, times have changed. Football has moved on. Manchester United is not that Manchester United anymore. We don't have Sir Alex Ferguson. Nobody has a Sir Alex Ferguson. But we also are in a bad place in terms of we have numerous amounts of problems. We don't just have a Marcus Rashford problem. We have a problem across the board at the club. We have financial problems. We have mentality issues. We have attitude issues. We have issues, across the board at the club. How you tackle all these individual issues at the same time is literally impossible. We have to do it one by one. There's too much on the plate of Ineos to try and handle at the same time. They're trying to do things. I mean, they're even trying to do a stadium, and all these things. But at some point, we just got to start picking them off one by one. I think, if we sell Marcus Rashford, I think that wipes our hands clean of it. and we move on from that aspect, and we can focus on a different problem that we have. Lions says, what the hell was that celebration from Xerxes all about? Yes, if you don't know, apparently Joshua Xerxes is being investigated and may potentially be banned for the celebration that he did. I believe it was on the second goal of Amad Diallo, where Xerxes appeared to run up to the crowd and did a Ronaldo-esque type of celebration when Ronaldo did that celebration to Simeone in the Champions League, grabbing his cojones. Xerxes did something similar like that. I don't know what possessed Xerxes to do that. I believe it was in front of our own fans as well. So I don't know. It seems like it was a spur of the moment adrenaline type of thing. It's certainly funny to watch. I hope he doesn't get suspended, because I think it's just fucking stupid if he gets suspended for that. But yes, apparently they're investigating that. Xerxes showed them Suleimana, says Axe. So apparently he's being investigated for that. Knowing us, they're going to suspend him because it's Manchester United. He's a Manchester United player, and they want to suspend one of our players like they always do. Just like how they suspended, Edison Cavani for apparently being racist. Meanwhile, there's players at Chelsea this season or this past season that were literally racist, and none of them got suspended or in trouble for anything, but Cavani then got suspended from games. So when it comes to Manchester United, we are dealt with an unfair justice system. So the FA hate us. They're against us. They, I don't know who runs the FA. I don't know their names, but they clearly have some sort of bias, hate against us. And so when these things appear, I'm not going to be surprised if they suspend him. I'll be pissed because I think it's a bunch of bullshit, but it is what it is. And Axe says we have all the issues in the world because of the Glazers. We do. And there's no, I mean, listen, we're in it. There's nothing we can really do. I understand people's unhappiness of the Glazers and of, Ineos working with the Glazers, but at the same time, like, there's nothing that we can do about it. We are in the situation. We have to live with it. The only thing that we can probably do, in my mind, is massive protests. And we had massive protests, but I don't think we did massive protests in the correct way. In my mind, we needed to empty the stadiums, but there was all sorts of Manchester United fans could never come to an agreement on it. And therefore, in my mind, if Manchester United fans can't come into an agreement in emptying the stadium, and that is in unison with ticket holders and people that come from all over the world, and if we can't stand up in unison and empty the stadiums and hurt them in their pockets and successfully boycott all the merch and all that stuff, then we got nothing else to talk about. Until we stand up and do that, in my personal opinion, we have to reap what we sow. So if we continue to give money, they're going to stay here, and this partnership is going to continue. And we're just going to have to hope that Ineos are actually more of the good guys than the bad guys, and that they can actually do a good job and fix problems at the club. If they are part of the bad guys and they are more friends with the Glazers than we want them to be, then our club will continue to be screwed. And we're going to have to reap what we sow from that. And maybe it hits a point where it gets very, very bad, and maybe the fan base actually comes together and stands unified for once and stops the infighting, and actually stand up and do what is needed to be done, which is a lot of sacrifice. But until that day, we are where we are, and we just need to hope for the best. There's nothing else we can really do. So, Axe telling me to stop defending Ineos. I'm not defending Ineos. I'm just saying, like, what do you want me to do? I will sit here and say Ineos out. Great. What does that solve for us? What does that do for Manchester United? Is that going to do anything? Even if 75% of the fan base came out and said Ineos out, Ineos isn't going to leave because the Manchester United fan base didn't do what they were supposed to do. So you can blame the Glazers and you can blame Ineos and you can blame whoever else you want, but the fan base needs to look at themselves as well and blame themselves, because I think we missed a huge opportunity because of too much infighting. We had lots of people trying to organize shit. Nobody could agree on anything. We were divided and we got conquered. And we must now accept that, unless people want to actually come together and change their attitude and change their mentality. Because prior to all of this whole Ineos thing, I was there. We didn't have this channel, but I was in the full belief that Manchester United fans did not do enough. We did not do enough. We needed to do more, and we were divided in too many opinions, and we still are. And we still are. And until that day comes that Manchester United fans fully accept that we must sacrifice things we don't want to sacrifice to get these people out of our club, we are going to have these people at our club. And therefore, all I can do at this very moment is hope that the people that are in charge of our club, that I don't necessarily want there, do their job in the best way possible and actually help the club get to a better place. Lyle says it has been revealed that Xerxes will face no further punishment, with the FA detailing their decision. Well, that's very good. They said, as guidance, we have issued Joshua Xerxes with a reminder of his responsibilities, and he will face no further action. Well, that's the surprise to me that they issued that. So, you know what? To be fair, I don't even think it was on the cameras. Like, I don't think they broadcasted it. It was the footage that I saw was from cell phone footage within the stadium. So maybe that had a thing to play to it, because I think if it was on the TV broadcast, they probably would have gave him a punishment for it. But I think because the TV cameras didn't capture that, that might have made it a lighter sentence. So that's good from the FA. I thought they would give him a 1-2 match ban for that, but they've actually done something that is not considered woke nonsense. So yeah, good for them. Maybe they should do more of that. Lion says, in response to Ineos, it's like when you marry your partner and then realize they have a massive student loan, haven't been paying their mortgage and haven't been paying their overdraft. Now it's your problem as well. And Axe says, someday you will see how much Ineos and the Glazers are linked. They are the same. You hope in vain that Ineos will do good, but they only care about themselves and not the club. Well, maybe they do. But what are we supposed to do about that? Maybe they are. Maybe they are. Maybe that is 100% true. But what are we doing about it? What is the fan base doing about that? And what are we going to do to remove them and the Glazers? What are we doing? Until the fan base wants to have that conversation, there's nothing for me to really go on about. I'm not going to come here every day and say Ineos are bad people and they need to leave the club, because there's no point. There's just no point. And plus, they're 1 year in, and they may not be like the Glazers. They might not be. They still have a benefit of doubt for me. They have many challenges. I'm not under any, under any illusion what the Glazers have done to this club and the challenges they have faced for anybody that wants to come in and even try to fix the problems that they created at this club. And there's also different aspects to that. They still own a majority of the club. They still loaded the club in almost $1 billion of debt. Why should anybody come in and remove their debt? Why should anybody really do the things that we want them to do? Because it would fix the club. But why should they do it from their money? Why should they do it from their standpoint? I'm not protecting them. I'm just saying from a logical standpoint, it doesn't really make sense. So the Glazers have unequivocally fucked this club, and the Glazers have created a situation where they have fucked this club, up until they decide that they want to go. They have this club by the balls, and there's nothing that we can really do about it, unless, like I already mentioned, the Manchester United fan base comes together and does what is needed. We had an opportunity to do that, and I think we blew it. That whole time that United were going under the takeover, a lot of people, threw their hands up in the air and they just sat back, and they were convinced that Qatar was going to buy the club, and that nobody had to do anything. We didn't have to stop going to the matches. We didn't have to stop buying the merch. We didn't have to stop any of that, because Qatar is going to buy the club and everything's going to be okay. When I think at that moment in time was the perfect time to put pressure on the Glazers and anybody that was considering investing, like Ineos, and suck the money directly out from the sale of merchandise and ticket sales. But we couldn't, as a fan base, we couldn't come to an agreement on that. I remember, I'm not a ticket holder. I don't know what it means to have a season ticket. I've heard people that have season tickets that have had the season ticket in generations of their family. They refused to get rid of that season ticket. I can't argue against them. That's something they have to be willing to do. I can't tell them to do that. Nobody can tell them to do that. We have no right to do that. But it had to be something that they were willing to do, and a lot of them weren't willing to do it. Then they had the reasons for it, and I have to respect the reasons for it. Even if I disagree with it, I have to respect the reasons for it. But I still think the best possible action would have been everybody pull our money out, boycott the games, don't watch the games on TV, don't go to the games, don't buy the merch. Would have hit them significantly in their pocket. People that were thinking about investing or giving it a partial investment would have thought 3 times about it, doing a partnership deal with the Glazers and stuff like that. So, it is what it is. Axe says we are supposed to revolt and force the Glazers out. We are, but again, if the fan base remains divided, like how we were divided, which is why we got conquered, then we are going to go nowhere. So until that day happens, there's not much that us bitching and crying about Ineos being here and maybe potentially trying to do a job to wrong some of the Glazers, right? To right some of the Glazers' wrongs. It's the only hope we got. If they are as bad as the Glazers, then our club is going to be monumentally more fucked than anybody could have ever imagined. So I'm hoping they're not. I'm hoping that they do a good job. I'm hoping that they can fix some things. I'm going to give them a couple more years, and I'm going to see along the way what decisions they're making and what they're doing. And I will evaluate them in real time. All eyes are on Ineos. There is no way they are going to pillage this club as the Glazers have done. Sir Jim Ratcliffe just confirmed his final personal investment, more than the Glazers have ever done, says Laya. And this is what I'm saying. Like, there's just different aspects. Like, people say that he's in it for the money. I don't know. I guess, yeah, there's money to be made. But he's also putting a lot of personal investment that is trying to correct the Glazers. And the Glazers have done nothing in putting money into the club. They've taken only money out of the club. So I see differences there. I don't think it'll be in the same manner as what the Glazers have done. The Glazers is strictly just 110% business, and they don't give a shit at all. And they've been here for, well over 15 years. So we know what they're all about. Ineos have only been here for a year. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has only been here for a year. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a businessman. Not all businessmen are bad. They have different ways than regular people of running things, and they may do some things that we don't necessarily agree with because we see it as maybe anti-human, but at the same time, there is a business element to the club, and we need to fix that. The financials of the club have to be fixed. Without financials, without the proper financials at the club, Manchester United cannot operate in a proper manner. So, you might not like that aspect, but money is indefinitely tied to Manchester United as a football club and how it's going to perform and how it's going to grow and move forward. So, Lion says he thinks that Ineos Group are doing what they can. And that's kind of how I feel right now. I think they're kind of doing what they can based on the situation that they walked into with the Glazers. And that's what it is. Make a t-shirt that says Axe Lord Rage, and we'll put like a giant bloody axe on the back of it. Richard says, I gave him my season ticket because of what the Glazers done with the fans. So once they took over, even if I did not want to go to a League Cup match, the money was taken automatically from my bank. Yes, I get that, but the part of that what they were talking about is, they're going to take your money in that aspect. But if you cut the season ticket and it's not renewed, they're losing guaranteed money, over the period of time. So that was the main argument that people were making. The counter argument was somebody like Richard gives up their season ticket, somebody else comes in and takes it. And this is what I'm saying. Even if we were to get the season ticket holders to give up their tickets, we still need the rest of the fan base to be on the same page and in agreements that, hey, there is a season ticket available, but I'm not going to take it because we are protesting the Glazers and I'm not going to give them money. But unfortunately, we are so large and there's too many people with too many different ideas and too many different mentalities that we couldn't get that under one roof. And we are divided. We are divided, and therefore we were conquered. And that's what it was. So I don't even know if they're allowed to do that, Richard. Like Axe is saying, did you sue them? Lyle says, of course, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is in it for the money. As an investor, that is the goal, but you have to fix things to set a profit. Ineos put so much money in looking for ROI down the line. Well, I think that's a good point as well. Like, listen, even if you are in it for the money, and this is why I don't understand the Glazers in a certain aspect, because even if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is in it for the money, Sir Jim Ratcliffe stands to make he stands to make money, and he stands to make the most money if Manchester United is fixed and Manchester United return to the top. If Manchester United are winning trophies and Manchester United are the best of the best, they will make the most money they possibly can. The business model that we have right now is that the Glazers lived off of the past champions of Manchester United, and it's been 11 years, and that is no longer hitting. It's no longer cutting it anymore, and we are losing money left and right. We've hit a point where they must now turn around and try to fix the club and return it back into a respectable club. So even if Ineos are in it for the money, I still think that they still have to do things to make Manchester United better so that they can reap the rewards of getting money. And Glazers out, Ineos out, says Axel. Well, that's fair enough. You're allowed to say that. I'm Glazers out, obviously. Always been Glazers out, always will. And Ineos, to be determined. To be determined for me. Richard says there are people queued up for the next 20 years to buy season tickets. And this was one of the biggest talking point problems, when these discussions were going on. I remember watching, other fan channels before I created this channel. And I remember people outside of the Old Trafford ground that were season ticket holders that were doing fan cams and were explaining this sort of problem. And they're reluctant to give up the season tickets. So I get it. I'm just bringing to light the issue of how divided the fan base is in different ways of thinking, and that it's making it extremely difficult for us to come together and have an effective movement against these people and getting the ownership change that we want. So much so that it is literally out of our hands. And we literally have to look to the sky and pray and hope that one day the Glazers are get bored or whatever, or that it's not financially good for them in any possible way to hold on to Manchester United anymore, and they move on. And then we have to pray whoever comes in to take it over from them is actually a good owner, and has the financial means as well, because there's no guarantee. So, you know, Lana says, what is going on to bring profits for Ineos, a successful club on the pitch? The Premier League brings in money, cups bring in money, but on top of that, the outside investors and sponsors bring in money. And nobody wants to be listen, right now, if you're a sponsor, right? If you're like Adidas or some shit, I don't know, if you're a big sponsorship organization, who you want to give your who do you want to give the most money to right now? It ain't United. I mean, United have ton of eyes, so you might want to give them something, right? But when you're looking at it, you're like, well, Manchester City have been the most successful club in the Premier League over the past 10 years. Liverpool are a good, well-respected club that we could attach our brand to or our name. And you want to give it to them. You don't want to give it to a club that can't get into the Champions League, that is falling out of Europe, that is in disarray, that is embarrassed almost every other week. So there are aspects that, like, even if they want to suck the money out of this club, they need to propel Manchester United back to a place where we are serious. I think there's many brands that look at us and they're like, that's not even a serious proposition, because what are you? You're not a serious football club. You don't challenge for the Premier League. You're not in the Champions League every season. You don't even perform well when you get into the Champions League or in Europe. So you're not going to get our top money. Our top money is going to go to the top clubs. And they know this. I just don't understand how the Glazers didn't figure that out, or maybe they just didn't care enough because they were living off of the past successes. But I think it's come to a point where they're looking at the numbers, and the past successes is no longer bringing them the amount of money that they were once getting, and therefore now they have agreed to somebody like an Ineos that's saying, listen, we need to fix this club and make it more popular because it's falling off the charts and you're losing money. And if we make it more popular by making it better, you will make more money, and I will make money, and we will all make money. But at that point, if that happens, it's sort of a win-win because they get what they want, but then we also get what we want. So in a certain aspect, and that would be that Manchester United is actually great again. Axe says, I looked into how bad Ineos performed in racing and cycling compared to how much they have invested. Being given our current situation, it might be the last nail in our coffin. Well, what do you mean by that? Can you expand on that, Axe? Can you give us some more details, please? Because I have not looked into that, so I can't say anything. But it's an interesting comment, and I would like some more details. What I can do in the meantime is I'm gonna look for some news, um, to see if we got any if we got any updates while we went live. Um, a lot of stuff about Denis Law, which obviously makes sense. I think they quelled the stories after Denis Law, so he was 84 years old, so it's a good life. A good life. You see this account. Denis Law's family put out a message as well. I'm going to read that. The message that they put out said, "It is with a heavy heart that we tell you our father, Denis Law, sadly passed away. He fought a tough battle, but finally he is now at peace. We would like to thank everyone who contributed to his well-being and care, past and much more recently." So that was from the Denis Law family. The Sun have put out a story saying Manchester United are optimistic of signing Victor Gyökeres this summer from Sporting. I wish it was anybody but the Sun. Oh, what we didn't speak about is the stadium. So the stadium, Manchester United released something about the stadium on their official account. And I will read the updates for the stadium about Old Trafford and what their plans are about that. So the mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, said these proposals offer the biggest opportunity for urban regeneration this country has seen since London 2012 and are an important part of our 10-year plan to turbocharge growth, not only around Old Trafford, but across Greater Manchester. He also said our city region is a unique position. We are driving growth faster than the UK average, attracting more investment through innovative partnerships, and we have developed an innovative new mechanism to deliver the homes, jobs, and infrastructure that we need to lock in those benefits for years to come. The club made a statement on the potential new stadium. The club's statement follows as saying the data also showed that a new build stadium at Old Trafford is the preference for the majority of fans, who responded with 52% declaring support for that option. Redevelopment of the existing stadium was preferred by 31%, with a further 17% as unsure. I think they polled about 50,000. No, it wasn't 50,000 people. Consultation was also held with local community. More than 60% of 1,000 residents surveyed felt the project could bring positive benefits to the area. All parties recognize the importance of this consultation, and further engagement is planned for 2025 as the club moves closer to a direction of travel on the stadium. The Old Trafford Task Force have determined a redevelopment stadium could increase the capacity to 87,000, while a new build stadium would allow capacity to reach 100,000. Both options remain under consideration, with the club set to decide on the preferred approach ahead. And the Telegraph, because this came from the Telegraph, all of this, the Telegraph followed up by saying United are pushing for a new stadium as the centerpiece of a wider regeneration project that is expected to generate £7.3 billion a year for the UK economy and create around 90,000 jobs nationally. Discussions are underway to assess available land. That's from James Ducker in the Telegraph. And those were the updates around the stadium. So it seems like Manchester United are going in the direction of that they're going to build the new stadium. They want to build the new stadium. I think there's a lot of good things that would come out of building a new stadium. Obviously, the sad thing is that we will lose Old Trafford, and Old Trafford will essentially cease to exist, as far as we know it, unless they plan to do something with Old Trafford. But it's still a little bit undetermined over, are they going to keep it? Are they going to knock it down? Are they going to transform it into something else? But certainly, the new stadium would provide a lot more seats, which would increase the revenue for Manchester United in ticket sales. And it would also provide a lot new jobs to the surrounding area as well, which is a good plus. Especially because Ineos, cut some jobs in Manchester United. So if you could create, a good amount of jobs in the surrounding area for people, that's good for everybody. So I don't know. I don't want Old Trafford to go. But I think maybe it has to be done. Maybe it's for the best. We just spoke about, Marcus Rashford and players, and their time coming to an end at Manchester United. And I believe, one of you said that, all things come to an end, and maybe Old Trafford, maybe its time comes to an end as well. I don't really want it to. What I want is whatever the best possible option is for Manchester United, and for the people in the surrounding area that live in Manchester as well. Whatever the best possible option is, whatever provides the best growth, the best prosperity. That's what I think that we need to do, because I think Manchester United. I just think that a club of our stature, we shouldn't have a stadium that has holes in the roofs, that is decaying, that is rusting, that is literally bantered, that is made fun of. We need state of the art. Now, if you can transform Old Trafford into state of the art, make it new, make it available to use not only for football, but kind of like what Tottenham Hotspur Stadium does, where you could get more revenue in, which helps the football club in the long run. I'm for it. What I have a bit of a concern about the regeneration thing, or the redevelopment of Old Trafford, would be how long and sustainable is that. We don't have those details. I want more details from the club. I want like extensive details. I want like the full plans side by side released. I want all the details so that the fan base and the fans can like look at it for what it is, as full plans, read through both sides, and then make the decision they think is the best. Because right now we're only being fed little information here, little information there. It's a little hard to make a determining factor. Like, if we redevelop Old Trafford, how long will that last? Will is the things in the stadium going to start falling apart 5 years after we redevelop it? Is it going to start falling apart, 7 years? If we build a new stadium, does that mean that those things will be good for 15 years? Those things are, is a big factor for me in making that decision. Because what I don't want is Manchester United to spend time, effort, and money on, revamping Old Trafford, only for it to start falling apart again 5 years down the line. I would see that as a waste of money and a waste of time. And then I'm going to be sitting there and saying we should have just built a new stadium when we had the opportunity, and then we won't have that opportunity. There's only one chance for this. We're either going to, revamp Old Trafford, or we're going to build a new one. And when that decision is made, that's the end of all of it. So I don't know what they plan to do. But whatever they plan to do, I hope that it is in the best interest, and serves the club and the surrounding area and the people that live in that area the utmost best, and provides everybody an opportunity of growth and prosperity, because we need it, but also it should be a standard for Manchester United. The size of the club and the amount of money we generate, it should be something that's there. So for sure. Grace says, let's pick our 5 best players. Brighton pick their 5 best, and they go have a 5-5 at a local park. That would actually probably be very entertaining, and we could stream it to YouTube, and do it for a charity. That would be very cool. Lyle says, I say new sponsored stadium, Old Trafford reduced for the women and academy. Well, if they can do something like that, then I hope we can do it. But this is what I'm saying. The details are sort of muddied. They were said that they wanted to do something like that. Then they said that, that's not plausible for the plans, and that they would have to knock Old Trafford down, and Old Trafford has to cease to exist if they're going to build a new stadium. This time they haven't mentioned any of that. So I would like the plans for both to be fully released in full, 100% full detail for the fans so that we can read it and then we can actually decide what we want. Because I think there's, a little bit of good PR here. Oh, that sounds nice. What are the negatives and what are the positives? What are the 100% positives and what are the 100% negatives of picking one way or the other? That's not being laid out to us, and I want that information told to us. Now, of course, they have committees and all this stuff, and people of the area are being led in on that information, which is leading to them to pick one side or the other. But I think, you know, the fan base around the world should get privy to this information as well. You know, not just because there's people that live in that area, but there's also people that go to that area. There's also people that are going to go to that area and visit that area. So it involves everybody. It directly impacts people, some people more than others, but it still has an impact overall. So access. So long story short, if you add up all the investments made by Ineos in their teams, they win less for that money in comparison to other teams in those sports, and they don't win constantly. Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. Richard says, "Look, I love Old Trafford, but if you look at what City, Tottenham, and even West Ham got, then time to move on." And that's a fair statement. And you're talking about, and that statement's coming from what I would say a legacy fan. I know that term isn't used nicely, I guess, but Richard has been through many generations of Manchester United, and even he thinks that maybe it is time to move on. And there is certainly an argument for that. I mean, it does make sense. Like, if you look at the stadiums of City, Tottenham, and even West Ham, and West Ham are on a smaller scale, but what they've done with their stadiums, especially Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because the things that Tottenham is able to do in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is generating money that they've never seen before from other events other than just football, which is good for the club financially, and it's something that we could do as well, and we need help money-wise as well. I will say this though, whatever we decide to do, it's still going to take a numerous amounts of years. I did read somewhere that the club or the people are leaning towards building a new Old Trafford, building a new stadium. If they build a new stadium, that's going to take years. Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants it sped up. The number that I saw that it said that it would take to build a new stadium was like 7+ years or something like that, which is a very long time. It makes sense because there's a lot of work involved, and you're not just doing the stadium, you're redoing the entire surrounding area as well. So there's a lot of work, hence the 90,000+ jobs that it would create. But obviously, as we've mentioned before, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is kind of on a clock, and he wants things to happen as fast as possible because he's not getting any younger. And supposedly, the story that came out is Sir Jim Ratcliffe, if we go for a new stadium, will push for that new stadium to be done well under 7 years, as quickly and as fast as possible. I don't think he's accepting a 7-year timeline. So I don't know what that means. I know that there's ways to, get things done faster. I don't know, how the law works in the UK, per se, and, what sort of challenges they have for that. But here in America, sometimes you have people that are builders and they go to build something and they tell you that it's going to take 5 years, and you get somebody else in that is a builder and they can do it in 3, or they could do it in 2.5. They could do it in half the time for half the money. What they do to do that, I don't know. I'm not involved in that. That's not my it's not my place of expertise, but let's see what happens from there. So Lyle says United surprisingly have a large district and land that they own and they own to develop. Old Trafford can still exist, but in a reduced format. Well, if that is the case, I hope that they can do that, because I think it would be cool to do something like that where you can kind of keep the history and the structure of Old Trafford. You know, in my eyes, I view Old Trafford like it's like a structure, like it's like Big Ben, or it's like the Coliseum, or it's like the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty. Like you don't it's an iconic thing. You don't just like obliterate it to dust. It should stick around. It should be there, whether it's in, you know, max capacity use or not. I feel like it should still be there, to be seen, and to stand there, for sure. So I, you know, if we do, I mean, for me that would be kind of the best of both worlds. It would be me having my cake and eating it too. If we could build a new stadium while retaining Old Trafford in some sort of capacity, whether we turn it to a museum or we have some sort of, you know, we use it for the women's game or the youth team or whatever we got to do. If it stands and it's still some type of operational in some type of way that serves the community or fans or whatever, I think that's the best of both worlds. Um, you know, if that's not something that they can possibly do, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. But I probably at this moment in time probably think the best course for Manchester United in an overall picture would probably be to build a brand new state of the art stadium. One that we're going to be extremely proud of, and one that, you know, other people are going to be envy of. I have no doubt about that. I think if Manchester United redo and build a new stadium and they redo the surrounding area, I think it's going to come out very nice. I think it's going to be 100% state of the art, and I think it's going to be something that, you know, the world probably hasn't seen. And a lot of clubs are going to be envy of it. I think that positive will come out for sure. Axe says now Ineos will destroy even that legacy, and considering their management, their team will win nothing and nothing on the next stadium. Well, I hope you're wrong. Lion says Ineos are going to destroy the club. Amorim will destroy the club. Christ on a bike. Give them time, man. Well, yeah, they need some time. They need some time. Axe is done. He's seen enough. But for the rest of us, we can give them time. Don't worry about it. It's all right. You know, that's what it's all about. He's seen enough. It's his opinion. He's allowed to hold whatever he wants, and we'll hold ours. And we'll live in harmony. Axe says they will win nothing on the Ineos stadium. Look how toxic the Glazers and Ineos are. Richard says I like being a Legacy fan. Well, I know, because that's what you have on your Twitter. And I actually don't think there's anything wrong with it, but that term is not used in the nicest way sometimes. So it might be misconstrued as a knock, whereas I don't think it has to be. But I've heard the term legacy fan being used in a not a positive way before, but that's not what we're using it here. So West Ham and Tottenham have never won anything. We can't compare with them. I mean, but we could compare the stadium. There's nothing wrong with comparing the stadium. The stadium has nothing to do with necessarily winning. That just has to be with other things. But what the stadium, what a new stadium can offer, and what it can do for the club and the surrounding area, you could compare that. Why not? I don't see a problem with that. Ax, you've never watched Star Wars. Gotta go watch Star Wars. Beaver Cousin says, why Sir Jim don't side with Qatar and help build the new stadium and the surrounding areas? Well, Beaver, or Bevar, I said Beaver, sorry, Bevar, Beaver, I don't know. Well, the reason why, in my opinion, is probably egos. Qatar doesn't want that. Sir Jim maybe would take the investment if he can make some sort of deal. Although he would probably understand the PR of that and maybe would be reluctant to do it. But at the same time, they're looking for investment options, and if Qatar was willing to do that, maybe he would do that. But Qatar certainly is not going to do that. Qatar is a one-way street, and I don't blame them, and I certainly understand it. They have tons of money, and for Qatar, it's them or it's nothing. There's no partnership. They don't want a partnership. They don't need a partnership. Um, there's no need for them to work with anybody. They don't need to work with the Glazers. They don't need to work with Sir Jim Ratcliffe or the Ineos. They have the money. And if they're going to get involved, it's them and only them, and them with 100% power and control. They're not there to bail anybody out. They're not there to be friends with anybody. And I totally get that, and I do agree with it at the same time, because if I was them, I would be acting probably in the same way. I'm not there to do deals with people. I don't need you. I have the money. I have the resources. I can do everything. I can get it done. You don't need to be involved in any way. You serve no purpose to me being involved, so why should I get in bed with you? So that's why that would never come to fruition, because only way that they will get involved is if they are going to have 100% complete control, which is obviously an issue between the Glazers and Ineos, because they have a partnership. The Glazers didn't want to do a full sale, and Qatar was never going to agree to anything other than a full sale because they want 100% control, and they don't need anybody else involved. So, Access, literally the only thing I visited in Manchester was Old Trafford, but I was there for 6 hours. Well, I'm gonna go soon, so yes. And as Lyle put it as well, he said Qatar, they would rather own everything than part sponsor United. And that is the thing. Like, they're not, it's either them or nothing. That is their stance. I get that stance. It makes 110% sense. And I would, again, if I had their money, or if I'm them, I would have the same stance. I don't need you. I don't need anybody. I have everything that I have everything to do whatever we need to be done. So the rest of you are pretty much useless, and you're like, you're just like a bunch of leechers, like latching on to me, and I'm gonna make you great, using my resources and my time. Like, you serve no purpose to me. You either give me 100% power and control, and it's on me, or you get nothing from me. And you can continue on as you do, and that's how they operate. So, Axe says, I would rather have Amorim for the next 5 seasons than watch Star Wars movie. Really? No, Star Wars is good, man. Come on, it's good. I have not watched Skeleton Crew yet. Completely off topic, says Line. Is it good? Have you watched it? Give me a recommendation. I saw a preview of it, but I wasn't bought by it, so I don't know. Is it worth watching? Is it good? What I want to do before we get out of here as well is, we got sidetracked by a very nice, wonderful conversation, and that's all right because it's Fridays. We kind of freestyle, and we had some topical things. But what I wanted to do was bring up some Ruben Amorim quotes that he had, because I listened to his interview today that he did today, or that was released today, and he said some things that I thought was very good, and I wanted to bring them up. And I actually wanted to bring up the video clip, but I didn't have time because I was playing around with stupid stuff, and I ran out of time to do it. So and I don't even know if I could do it without getting in trouble, but I was going to do it anyway. But Ruben Amorim quotes goes as follows. He said, we have to win, we have to improve because the fans expect more. Oh, that was not from today. Sorry. Wrong quotes. Where are the quotes from today? Those quotes from the other day. Where are the quotes from today? This account doesn't have them. swear some of these some of these United aggregator accounts do a better job, man. Do a better job. Do a better job. By the way, Ethan Williams, for the youth people, we didn't mention, but he's joined Cheltenham Town on loan for the remainder of 24-25 season. Hopefully he gets some good playing time and experience there. I don't even know what league they're in. Are they in the second league? Or are they... I don't even know. So Ruben Amorim was asked about up and down performances, and this was one of the things that I thought was interesting that he said, because I think I've said it before, and I think a few of us have said it before, and I think it's a little bit of common knowledge, but the manager has spoke about it today. And Amorim said, I think it will be difficult until the end of the season. It will be a bit of a roller coaster. In the end, it all depends on how much time we have to train. We are still in the Cup and in the Europa League, so it's important to focus on on next Thursday to win and to try and be in the top 8. He then went on to say, that way you can take 2 games off the schedule by avoiding the playoffs and have a full week. We have had about 7 training sessions in a 14 or 15 games, so it is very difficult, but we have to keep going and try to win. Sometimes we play well, sometimes we play badly. We will try to win the games. And I think it's just important that the manager has reiterated the sentiment of what we've all pretty much already figured out, is that, you know, the rest of this season will be a roller coaster. We're going to have some good performances like we did against Arsenal and Liverpool. We're going to have some bad performances like we did against Southampton, but maybe we get a good result out of it. We're going to have bad performances and we're going to have bad results. I think it's clear the way things have been going since Amorim has come in, that's going to continue for the rest of the season. And the hope would be that then next season we won't, you know, that would be a thing of a past and we can go into the season in a proper way. Again, you know, 7 training sessions while you played 14 or 15 games. You've played double the amount of games you had training sessions. So, you know, our matches are basically training sessions at the same time as matches. So, again, the situation is not the most ideal one for a manager at this time, especially coming into a United, you know, the worst Premier League United there has been. So, you know, it just highlights the difficulty of the situation and how things are being made more difficult than they have to be. Amorim was asked about Anthony's departure rumors, and he said, as I said, I want to keep my players. I'm focusing on these players. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see, but he did a good job today, because he gave these quotes yesterday, but they were released today. They do that sometimes. Amorim said Mateus Fernandez with the number 7 created a lot of problems for Manuel Ugarte because he was against 2 guys. So it's more my fault than his. He's going to get used to playing every 3 days. Because he was asked something about the fitness of Manuel Ugarte and that he doesn't seem to be able to play a match every 3 days. Ruben Amorim basically saying, listen, he's going to get used to that. That's not a problem. I don't, you know, have any concerns over that. That's basically just going to come with more time. He'll get accustomed to that. That's totally fine. You know, and then pointing out that, you know, he had a little bit of a hard time yesterday. He accepted responsibility for that, as the manager should probably do so, even though maybe, you know, obviously Ugarte has to take responsibility for not performing as well, but he's taken upon that, protecting his players a little bit. So and then Amorim spoke on the players' fatigues following that up and said the players will get used to it. I try to be honest with you and I talk openly about the game, and you focus on what I said about Ugarte. Ugarte was tired because he did a good job against Liverpool and against Arsenal. If you look at the game against Arsenal, Ugarte and Bruno were maybe the best players. Against Liverpool, they were, and they didn't play against Newcastle. It happens with all the players in the Premier League. They can play games in a row, but they don't play the same way, which makes sense. He was then asked about whether he is concerned about Højlund's form, which I thought was interesting. And he said, I think it's a team problem. It's not new. We're not dangerous enough. When we started this adventure together, Rasmus was the player who scored. I think it's more of a team problem than a Rasmus problem. And I agree. And this is why I keep backing Rasmus Højlund, because Rasmus Højlund has come under a lot of fire for not being good enough. And, you know, he's being attacked for not scoring goals. But again, we are a team that have struggled to score goals. We've struggled so far under Ruben Amorim. We've struggled under Erik ten Hag. We struggled under Solskjaer at a certain period of point. We struggled under Mourinho. This has been going on for a long, long time. This has been going on with numerous amounts of players. We had Ronaldo. We had Cavani. You know, and we struggled to score goals at certain times. We had Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Sometimes we scored, but then we had periods where we couldn't buy a goal. And this is a team problem, something that we have to figure out. And I think part of that, and I've been saying that this is something that Amorim has to figure out. He mentioned it, saying that we are still a team that prefers to basically play counterattack. We have a problem taking the game in our hands and creating chances when we are in control of the match, when we are in control of possession. We fare much better as a team when the game is out of our hands. Example, when we're playing a Liverpool or Arsenal, when they are controlling the match and we are allowed to counterattack. We still have that mentality. We still have the players. Majority of the squad of the players are still set up in that manner. And therefore, it's leading to issues for like when we play maybe a Southampton or another team where we are expected to have the possession or control the game or create these chances and these opportunities, and we struggle because we are just not there yet. It is something we have to build towards. It is something the players have to learn to do so. And he mentioned that, and I think he's absolutely correct because I've been saying it before he even opened his mouth and said it. So, but Amorim on the difficulty of preparing for matches with players who are potentially leaving. He said they are our players. We have control over that. We decide. Sometimes it's harder for the players because they have information. That's how it is. For me, it's not hard. It's harder to prepare for the match when you lose. When you win, you can handle everything. The expectations, the bad mood of some players. We prepare the same way. I focus on the next match. And this was the quote where I was just speaking about being pretty much a transitional team and stuff like that. Amorim said, we were, in the past, a transitional team, and we still are. You can feel it. We struggle to create chances in the final third. We struggle a lot against low blocks. I think they are a team that enjoys waiting for the game to start before creating danger in transition. That is something we need to change. To change, we need training. To have time to change, we need to win games. So he's absolutely correct because we've been saying this, you know, when he came in, before he came in, we said it about Erik ten Hag when Erik ten Hag was here. We said it before Erik ten Hag was here. We are a team that has been created and set up to be a transitional team. We play in that manner. We struggle to create chances in the final third, and we struggle a lot against low block teams. We do. And when we play those teams, we suffer bad results and bad performances. One of the main jobs, and I'm going to hold Ruben Amorim to this, is he needs to transform this team into not being this transitional team. It's going to take some time. I know it's going to take time. It has to take time. And I don't think he's going to figure out really this season because of the challenges he suffers in the fact that we had 7 training sessions in 14, 15 matches. When you have that amount of time to change us from a transitional team into a team that plays on the front foot and controls matches and is good in the final third, is almost impossible. So I look forward to seeing that change being developed into the next season, and that's one of the key things that I want to see from Ruben Amorim's team. And that it's something that he has to do if he's going to succeed. But he points out, we need training and we need to have time to change. To get training and to have time to change, we need to get results. So he's trying to get results while balancing and juggling all this bullshit that's going on at Manchester United. So, yes. John is here. John says he will try to win the Europa and the FA Cup. Well, he definitely should. He has to. You have to try. Axe says if he doesn't finish in the top 8, he should be sacked. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think he's going to be. And I'm gonna be honest, Axe. Finishing top 8, like if you finish 8th or you finish 10th, it makes no difference. It's not a good finish. And top 4 is gone. That's not happening, and top 6 isn't happening either. So as far as I'm concerned, this season in the league has pretty much become a write-off. And it's not really his fault. I'm sure we suffered some bad results under him, but the season didn't start with him. There was another manager that was in charge of that, and decisions were made at the club that had nothing to do with him. So, to me, where he finishes in the league this season is pretty much a write-off for me, and I'll be looking towards next season to really judge him as to where we're going, if we're going forward or not. Richard says, hit the like a button, please. Yes, if you have, thank you very much, because it helps the channel. If you haven't, please do so. And we greatly appreciate it. John says league position isn't important this year, and that's kind of where I am at, because it just is kind of cooked anyway. And John says FA Cup and Europa is the focus. And Richard says 100%. I would throw it all at the Europa League. Definitely do not want the Conference League next season. Well, the Europa League is our best chance at pretty much everything, because the Europa League, if you win the Europa League, it puts us in the Champions League, which saves us financially, but it also puts us in a competition that we obviously all want to be in, and we all obviously want our team to compete in, and we want to watch our team in. And it also subverts, whatever position we finish in the league. So, even if we finish 14th, if we win the Europa League, we're in the Champions League, which is good. I think there's some arguments for sure that it might hurt us in a certain aspect. But we can't afford to miss out financially right now. If we didn't have, per se, financial problems, I would even be okay with doing a season without Europe in any sort of way to get the team stabilized. Sort of kind of maybe like how Arsenal did in those 1 or 2 seasons, which benefited. I think a team like Nottingham Forest are benefiting immensely that they're not in a European competition. They're not suffering injuries. Their focus is on the league, and they have the other local cups. But they've got their aspects right as a team cohesion. But it's allowing them to stay up there because they don't have to play extra games, which is helping them in fitness and not suffering injuries. So, but yes. John says winning either cup puts us in European football next season. Use the rest of the season to really blood the youth and try different formations. Well, I don't think he's gonna change necessarily formations, but I think what you do is you use the rest of the season to really patent down what you're trying to get the team to learn, which is the system and the style of play, and also the basics. You have to sort out the team. You have to sort out the mentality. You have to sort out the attitude, the work rate, and all that stuff. So Richard says Rasmus is young and he will develop. 100%. We can't give up on these players. Should have transitioned from a 4-2-3-1 to a 3-4-2-1. Well, I don't know. I'm okay with the way he's gone about it. Maybe he should have. Maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have been worse. There's arguments for both sides. I'm okay that he's come in and done 3-4-2-1 from the beginning. Learn it from the beginning. We'll struggle in the beginning, and hopefully in the end we come out the other side for the better. Put the work in now and reap the rewards later. So, nobody. Yes. So listen, guys, that's gonna be all for today. It was a very, very good show. We're gonna go back live on Sunday for the Red Devil recap. For the game against Brighton. Let's just give a little bit of a key insight into Brighton. Let me pull this up. So we are home against Brighton, Manchester United. We are playing at Old Trafford. Brighton, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Brighton's last 5 matches, they have 4 draws and a win. They obviously just won on the weekend. They had 4 draws prior to that. Manchester United, we had 3 losses, a draw, and a tie. So we're kind of both kind of similar. Brighton are in 9th, we're in 12th. So this is going to be a 6-point game, essentially, for standing in the league. A little bit of like, just I don't know, insights to the match. We have no losses in 3. Brighton have no losses in 6. We have been without a clean sheet in 11 matches. And we have been the first to concede 8 out of our 10 last matches. And head-to-head playing Brighton, the insights is Brighton has been without a clean sheet in 3 in our 3 last meetings. Brighton is first to score 5 out of the last 7 times we played them. I don't know if directly, but 5 out of 7 times we played them. They have scored first, which isn't good because we are conceding first. So that statistic's not good. But what we don't want to do is go down to Brighton at home at Old Trafford. We need to score first. From what I'm seeing in the indication, we need to score first on Sunday. Otherwise, we're going to create a whole bunch of problems for us that we don't want. So we based off this the insights and the statistics leading up to this match, very important for Manchester United to get the first goal and to not concede the first goal, which we've been doing a lot. So hopefully, if we play that match and we can score the first goal, it puts us in a very good position. The last time we played Brighton was in August, in the beginning of the season. We played them at their home. They beat us 2-1. And last season, we beat them 2-0 at they were home, and we lost 1-3 at home last season as well, in September. So the last 4 times we've played Brighton, most recent matches, they have beat us twice. No, they have beat us 3 times, and we beat them once. So recent record against Brighton has not been good, as a lot of clubs. So that's not in our favor either. But we got to do something to, get. We need the win. We need the win. We need the 3 points. We got to do something. We have 26 points. They have 31. If we win that match, we have 29, and we'll be right up their ass. And maybe we could jump up a couple spots as well, depending on what Brentford well, pretty much what Brentford does. Because Brentford has 28 points and Fulham has 30. So we can't go above Fulham just yet. But if Fulham lose and Brentford lose, we could jump Brentford, go to 11th, and we'll be 1 point behind Fulham, and we'll be 2 points behind Brighton. And then depending on what everybody else does above us, which would be good because it'll put us in a stronger position in the league and tighten up some of those points, which is what we need. Match prediction. What are you guys thinking for the Brighton game? What are you thinking? Are we going to win? And if so, what is the score line? Put them in the chat. If you're new and you subscribed, thank you very much. If you can, and if you haven't already, smash the like button for us. It helps the channel. So if you could do that for me, if you don't do it for me and you don't do it for the channel, then for today, smash the like button for Denis Law. Rest in peace, Denis Law. We could, the very least we could do is smash the like button for Denis Law. So Richard says he subscribes. I think you do too, because you're always here. So but before I get out of here, because I don't want to leave, give me predictions. Put predictions in the chat. Also, you guys also do a fantastic job. You've been doing it for quite some time now that I've been asking. I'm going to keep asking because it helps, and I greatly much appreciate it. Please go into the comments after the show ends. Go underneath the video and leave comments. Whatever comments you want. Leave score predictions under there. Leave some type of analysis of anything. Talk about a player, talk about whatever you want. And as an inside to watching the show, secret comment will be it will be, trying to think of a good one. Favorite movie. Put your favorite movie under your comments. Unless Grace is here and she gives us one. Yeah, Lyle says, I never make predictions, Eric. LOL, always trust for a United win. Richard says United 2, Birmingham 1. I think that could be a scoreline. I think not Birmingham. What? Birmingham, Brighton. you almost yeah, I was like, wait, we're playing Birmingham. No, Brighton. United 2, Brighton 1, says Richard. Yeah, I think for sure we're going to concede a goal. So I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. And actually I want to see Brighton's games. Have they been scoring a ton of goals, or what, you know, what's going on here? So, they beat Ipswich 2-0 away from home. They tied Arsenal 1-1. They tied Villa 2-2. So it's sort of a hit and miss. So I don't know how many goals is going to be in this. I think it's going to be a tight game. You know, and Axe says it's a must win. Well, yeah, it has to, you know, we want to win, obviously, and for the circumstances that we're in, we can't really afford losses. So it is a must win. Every game is a must win because while I don't think that the table position is, you know, defines really Amorim for this season, I would like to be as high as possible with as many points. So obviously I want us to keep winning so that we cannot be talked about in the relegation battle and we could have a little bit more respect on our name. So, yeah, every match so far that we're going into until we can get to a point where we've closed the gap and we're looking all right is a must win. It has to be. So, Axe says, I trust in Amorim. Who's David? Richard says, no, they have not been playing well, but all teams treat playing United as the last game of their lives. They haven't been playing particularly well. They have suffered a lot of ties, so we could draw. Now they have a 2-game winning streak. They beat Norwich in the FA Cup away from home, and they beat Ipswich the other day, and Ipswich was home. So prior to that, they tied 4 matches in a row: 1-1 versus West Ham, 0-0 versus Brentford, 2-2 versus Villa, and 1-1 versus Arsenal. So, you know, I'm hoping for a 2-1 win, Manchester United. I could see maybe a 1-1 draw, with Brighton scoring first and us having to come from behind. I hope not. I hope that's not the story. But all indications, it seems like with the way we've been going and the way things have been happening, until we decide that we're going to snap that sort of streak, and I hope it's that match that does it, we have been conceding first and we have been chasing games. So I think goal for Manchester United: start strong, don't give up the lead, and try and take the lead. You know, don't concede first, take the lead and manage the game from there. And that's what I'm hoping for. So, yeah, so we will be live after the match for the Red Devil recap. We're gonna do that as we always do. It's gonna be an early one. The match is at 2 p.m. UK time, which means that it'll end somewhere around 3:45 UK time. So we'll probably be live around 4 p.m. UK time, which is it's sort of early for me, but it's like right in the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday, so that should be good. But other than that, everybody take care. It was a very good show. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for smashing the like button. Thank you to everybody and anybody that sent super chats. Those are always greatly appreciated, so I appreciate that very much. And yeah, we have the call-in show coming soon, working on it. And as you can see, I keep adding little things to the channel. We have the little dates that we didn't have before that updates live, and we have the time with my local time. As you can see, it's 6 p.m. here. And we also have a live subscriber account now, and I believe it's live. So when we get subscribers, it should update. I don't know if it updates live or it updates after, but I got to fix the logo and stuff like that. And I'm going to keep adding stuff to the channel. So it's been very good show. Thank you guys for supporting. You guys have been fantastic. Remember, get in the comments, because YouTube loves that stuff. As soon as I end this stream, which is about right now, get in those comments, leave comments, all types of comments, anything you want. Secret code or secret comment under your actual comment is your favorite movie. List them down there. I'll talk to you guys Sunday. I'll see you guys soon. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Friday night, and enjoy your Saturday as well. And hopefully Manchester United cap off our weekend with a win and don't send us into therapy. So other than that, take care, be good, enjoy yourselves, and stay safe. And we'll talk very, very soon.